Good afternoon. I'm Spot On Weather meteorologist Matthew Euler, and welcome to today's special video. We're going to cover a special video today and talk about a winter storm threat. A winter storm threat for the Mid-Atlantic, specifically when we get into the end of this upcoming week, all the way into the weekend, next weekend. So we're looking at the dates of Friday, 21 January through Sunday, 23 January. All right, and looking at the picture here to open up the presentation, a beautiful winter picture indeed, showing, that's one of my favorite imageries of winter is when you see that snow just kind of sitting there on the branches, the tree branches, just kind of outlining the tree branches is really nice. And so, will we see this type of weather across the Mid-Atlantic, including coastal Virginia, here at the end of this upcoming week into the weekend? So let's get right into it, and let's get down to what we're going to talk about. All right, so for Monday, tomorrow, the 17th of January, 2022, the intense storm system that's impacting Virginia, the Mid-Atlantic, points northward to Pennsylvania, that's going to really move fairly quickly to the northeast, to where we have an area of low pressure. The storm center is situated over New Hampshire. By tomorrow afternoon, the graphic on the left here is tomorrow afternoon. Let me get this ready. So tomorrow afternoon, the storm center is situated well over New England. We have a frontal boundary that extends southward from this particular system. And what the circulation is in the northern hemisphere around these low pressure areas, the circulation is counterclockwise. So on the back side of these departing storms, especially in wintertime, you get colder air that's going to filter into the area on west, northwest to northwesterly winds. And that's going to act to dry the atmosphere out across southeastern Virginia for Monday. So you can kind of see much colder air moving in from the upper Midwest on into the Mid-Atlantic for Monday. Okay, and we're going to have a lot of wind. These black solid lines represent isobars, or lines of equal barometric pressure, and when they're packed closely together, that indicates a lot of wind. So it'll be breezy on Monday, it'll be drying out on Monday behind the departing storm. And then on the upper level chart here on the right-hand side, we're showing the same time period on the upper levels at about 500 millibars. Generally showing this purple shading and green shading. This is your upper level trough. It's going to begin moving out, especially as we get into Tuesday, this Tuesday, the 18th of January. We're looking at the thickness lines, the thickness gradient definitely relaxing, and we're looking at some colder air starting to recede towards the northeast, towards New England by Tuesday afternoon, the 18th of January. Pay attention to this area upstream, though. This is going to be a key area to watch here as I go through the progression for the upcoming week's weather, and then we'll delve deeper into the winter storm threat. But this is going to be much colder Arctic air that is just looming in the distance. It's waiting to make its move. And by Tuesday, it's looking fairly mild, actually, and dry across the south-central U.S., Texas all the way up to Nebraska, as well as parts of the Midwest in general. It's going to be a temporary mild day on Tuesday before this Arctic front comes in, and it's really going to drop. Everything's at the bottom is going to fall out, basically, with that Arctic air mass. Looking at the upper level chart here at 500 millibars, or 18,000 feet for Tuesday, well, there is an upper level trough, which is pivoted in a negative manner, a negatively tilted trough over Maine and far northern New England. You'll notice this feature above that trough, this lighter orangish coloring, the maroon shading. This indicates an upper level ridge, which is building in towards Greenland. And then there's another upper level ridge situated off of the U.S. West Coast. And here is the beginning of the Arctic air at the upper level starting to take shape. By Wednesday, the 19th of January, 2022, now the Arctic front has really started making its progress to the southeast. It's going to be situated right from northern New Jersey down through southwestern Pennsylvania, southern Ohio, basically right there on the Ohio River by Wednesday afternoon, the 19th of January with this chart. So the Arctic front is just draped across the Ohio River Valley we're getting some rain showers out ahead of it that are developing from Arkansas through western Tennessee, Kentucky, up to West Virginia. And we have a 1045 millibar high pressure system. Now this is a strong high. It's coming straight from the Arctic, and a lot of cold air advection, a lot of strong cold air transport going on as the wind flow is clockwise around high pressure systems in the northern hemisphere. So we're expecting very cold winds from the north, Minnesota, Iowa, into northern Missouri and northern Illinois, Wisconsin, right on into Michigan by Wednesday afternoon, the 19th of January. The upper level chart here on the right shows the green coloring indicating very cold air, as well as anomalously low upper level heights at 500 millibars or 18,000 feet. And now look what we have going on here along the west coast. There in the Northeast Pacific, we have an upper level ridge and rising heights. This upper level ridge is building. Let's take a look. This is Tuesday. You notice how the ridge is building, but it's not as strong. But by Wednesday, that ridge is really building. And that's important when we look at the overall northern hemispheric pattern or circulation in the upper levels of the atmosphere. When the ridge builds in this particular location and the heights rise, you get milder air to move north toward the Arctic. And then on the front side of that ridge, you get much colder air that's going to basically dump all the way into the Midwest and eastern U.S. with time. Now Wednesday, look what happens. Along the eastern seaboard, a mild day from the Carolinas up through Virginia, Pennsylvania, into New England for Wednesday. But I will say this, get out and enjoy that mild day if you live in these locations from Virginia to Maine on Wednesday, because the Arctic front is knocking on the door. And let me go to Thursday now, the 20th of January, and look at what's going on here. These dashed blue lines indicate thickness values, and the bluer lines, the blue dashed lines, are generally associated with colder air. And we have the Arctic front by early Thursday afternoon, the 20th of January, stretching from the northwestern Atlantic down through the mid-Atlantic, basically down through North Carolina, down through the deep south into Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and just the southern parts of Oklahoma. The 1040 millibar, that's 1040 millibar high pressure system, very strong. Much colder northerly winds are now blowing that colder air south from the Arctic, eastern Canada, down into the U.S. And look at this upper level ridge. This thing is really, really developing out in the Gulf of Alaska, and that's allowing these heights to rise again, and that's going to help dislodge Arctic air on the front side of the massive upper level ridge. And look at the connections here. You notice how you go from the Arctic, the far high north latitudes, all the way down into the eastern U.S. You notice that it's one major connection of these blue colors and these green colors. That is very cold air that's going to start moving all the way to the east coast. So we could see a few showers on Thursday across southeast Virginia and northeast North Carolina on Thursday afternoon, and they could potentially change over to a brief mixture of rain and snow, or if the moisture sticks around long enough, we could see much colder Arctic air filtering in and changing it to all snow, just for a brief period. We're not expecting any accumulations at this time for Thursday afternoon or Thursday evening, the 20th of January. Now by Friday, the 21st of January, things start getting even more interesting. Okay, there's a 1038 millibar high situated just north of New York State. We have some extremely cold temperatures. These thickness values are just crashing. In fact, 516 decameter thickness is situated there over southern Virginia by Friday afternoon, the 21st of January. And this is going to be a very cold day overall. Notice what's going on offshore off the southeast coast. There's an area of low pressure, 1011 millibar low pressure system, and a lot of moisture along the Arctic boundary now interacting with the Gulf Stream. So you're starting to see a very unstable environment where you're getting this very, very cold air moving over the warmer waters of the Gulf Stream. And, this is real interesting. So this is the GFS model, by the way, and I'll do model comparisons here in a moment. But the GFS model just shows the area of low pressure developing along that boundary, that Arctic boundary out over the Gulf Stream. And with time, this system is going to remain offshore. Okay, So that would keep southeastern Virginia and northeast North Carolina, the mid-Atlantic as a whole, fairly dry, just cold, very cold on Friday afternoon, the 21st of January. We look at the upper level map here on the right and look at this ridge. This thing is just really, really strong. What goes up in the atmosphere with the ridge must come downstream of the ridge, and all the blue shading across the eastern U.S. is telling the story. Very cold air, highs in the 30s, for example, for many parts of the mid-Atlantic. By Saturday, the 22nd of January, 2022, we have a new area of low pressure. Now, this is the GFS model. It's showing an area of low pressure developing over the northwestern Gulf of Mexico and the southern Louisiana. All right. We still have very cold air in place, 1,035 millibar high, situated over eastern Canada. And again, very cold. Not as cold as Friday, but still cold nonetheless. Potentially highs in the upper 30s across parts of southeastern Virginia. Okay. The upper level pattern remains fairly consistent. We have a strong upper level ridge this looks like it's shifted a little bit further to the east between Friday and Saturday. So now the ridge is orientated more on the west coast of western Canada there. And look at this digging trough downstream of that massive ridge. And this is the connection, again, straight from the Arctic down into the Midwest by Saturday afternoon, the 22nd of January. Very cold air. Now, I wanted to break down next weekend, a late week into next weekend. This is real interesting weather that we could be looking at. Nothing set in stone right now. As expected, these models are going to be differing for a little bit of time here. I would imagine over the next 48 hours we're going to see some changes between all the models. What I'm showing you here is the differences, okay? GFS model is the upper left, and then the Canadian model is the upper right, and then I have the European model here, the center bottom, okay? So with the with the GFS model, let's start with that. Let's see if I can go back. So remember I mentioned this, how the GFS model develops this area of low pressure on Friday afternoon, the 21st of January. It's well offshore. This high pressure and the very cold, dry air is just working its way down the east coast. So according to the GFS, no type of precipitation expected on Friday. But by Sunday, the 23rd of January, an area of low pressure is forecast, according to the latest GFS model, to be right off the mid-Atlantic coast with a bout of heavy snow, an area of heavy snow from southern Jersey on down through Maryland, all the way down through eastern Virginia and in northeast North Carolina. A lot of heavy snow there. And the latest GFS model is showing 8 inches of snow for a large area from southeast Virginia to northeast North Carolina. Now, is this going to change? Yes. The answer is yes. But I want to just kind of show you what GFS is trying to develop. If we look at the Canadian model here on the right, now this is for Saturday, the 22nd of January. Now, what's been interesting about the Canadian model, the last 3 runs or so, going back to yesterday, is it's been pretty consistent about development of this area of low pressure that kind of just moves up the coast further north. And that would impact New England a lot more if the Canadian model verifies. But also, it's been interesting, I look for that continuity or consistency between these models, and the Canadian sticking to its guns with a low pressure area or storm system, a coastal storm moving up the east coast. And there's going to be a lot of cold Arctic air available for this moisture is going to get thrown over the top of that Arctic air. And we could be looking at, Canadian is like the most extreme model for snow accumulations across the mid-Atlantic, showing, and I'll show you the accumulations map here in a minute, but it's showing up to 14 inches of snow in localized spots across southeastern Virginia and northeast North Carolina. Very intense storm system on the Canadian, very consistent the last 3 model runs. Okay, now the bottom middle here shows the European model forecast for Friday, 21 January 2022, and notice where the moisture stays. It stays offshore. So on the European model, nothing is going to happen. There's going to be no snowstorm. There's going to be no wintry precipitation. Now, this is the 12Z model for the European today. on the 16th of January. Right, I'm going to show you the history of the past 3 runs on the European model, and here they are. So the 15 January 12Z model for the European shows an intense area of low pressure off the mid-Atlantic coast and shows a lot of precipitation moving into parts of southeastern Virginia, northeastern North Carolina. Okay, and that was yesterday's model run at 12Z, the 15th of January. Then we take a look at the 16, the overnight run, 16 January 00Z, and similar. Okay, so you notice this run and this run of the European model show a very similar track, show a lot of moisture available, and show a winter storm, a significant one, across the mid-Atlantic. Now look at today's midday run. All the moisture stays offshore. It maybe scrapes the northeastern North Carolina coast with accumulating snow, but then it moves out. And so it's just mainly a cold and dry situation, according to the latest European model, the midday run here on the 16th of January. But I wanted to show you, this is the past 2 runs, and they were fairly consistent. So 2 of the 3 runs have shown a major storm system, a winter storm across the mid-Atlantic for the upcoming, and this is really on the Saturday the 22nd of January is what the European was indicating. Okay. Now looking at the snowfall maps between the models, GFS model is showing the heaviest snow across parts of South Carolina into western North Carolina, up through localized areas of western Virginia, central and western Virginia. And there is a swath of 8 inches of snow for Hampton Road cities on this particular GFS model run, the latest run, the midday run on the 16th of January. The Canadian model, midday run the 16th of January. Look at this, showing that aqua color. Here's a legend on the right showing 14 to 16 inches of snow from northeastern North Carolina through Hampton Road cities on up through parts of the Delmarva, Delaware, just offshore New Jersey, up through eastern Massachusetts. This swath kind of works its way this way. And I have seen past winter storms work like this to where it's more localized, heavy strips of snow. Now let's take a look at the European model. The only thing the European model is showing off the latest midday run of the 16th of January is a little bit, 1 to 3 inches of snow, kind of scraping the northeastern North Carolina area down towards the Outer Banks. All right. Now, if I were to show you the past snowfall maps from the European model from these 2 model runs here, you would be laughing because it had a swath of anywhere from 8 up to 16 inches of snow across the mid-Atlantic. Okay, so right now it seems like the European model is having some issues showing some sort of consistency. Okay, now let's move ahead, and I will summarize my winter storm potential thoughts here for the weekend towards the end of the video. But let's take a look at this cold pattern that just is, it's going to be a crazy 10 days of cold weather for the eastern U.S. And again, the source is straight from the Arctic Ocean, or Arctic region rather, sorry. So you take a look at this. This is a upper level trough, anomalously low heights at 500 millibars. And you got to realize the heights, the thicknesses, and the heights are generally proportional to the air temperature. So the lower the heights, the lower the temperatures. They're directly proportional. The lower the thickness values, the lower the virtual temperature. Okay, so we're looking at this just deep trough. This is for Sunday. This is Sunday afternoon, next Sunday, the 23rd of January. This huge upper level ridge persists along the west coast of Canada. And this huge, just this digging upper level trough exists from Hudson Bay all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. So it's going to be a very cold period. We look at the graphic here on the right. This shows the European. This is the EPS over here on the right. By the way, this is the Jeff's model on the left. Very similar setup. See the consistency with the trough extending all the way from the Arctic down into the deep south, the southeastern U.S., and this is, this kind of pattern is what you look for when you want winter storms. Southeast, mid-Atlantic especially. This is the type of pattern you want. You want a lot of cold air in place, and it appears we're going to keep that in place. The longer range ensembles, the Jeffs on the left, And then this is the European ensemble on the right. And this is for Monday afternoon, the 24th of January. The 24th of January is going to be one of the coldest days of the winter, according to these ensembles, just showing this extremely low heights, which is going to be associated with extremely below normal temperatures, especially centered from Pennsylvania south to Virginia. This is going to be very, very cold. And, showing the same thing over here on the right for the same time period, European EPS. Very cold Arctic connection established. And it's going to be interesting. So now going out a little bit further in time, I'm showing you two of Jeff's GFS ensemble forecasting system graphics. The cold pattern continues to remain in place for the eastern U.S. right on through the end of January. This is for the morning of 30 January 2022, showing the blue shading and the troughing, the below normal heights across the eastern U.S. And then this is the... Okay, I got these out of order. This actually on the right is for the 25th of January. Okay, so these were the 24th of January, showing how cold it was going to be, and this is Tuesday, January 25th in the afternoon. This is crazy, folks. This is crazy cold. All right, these are temperature departures of the order of 25 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit below normal in this green coloring. All right, this is where it's going to be, and then on the left here, which I just briefed. That one's going to be the 30th of January, just kind of showing you how this troughing continues. The higher heights are out over the northeastern Pacific. Now, let's take a look at the CFS Weekly, the latest CFS Weekly model, showing just some... These are 2-meter temperature anomalies in degrees Celsius. And when you start seeing these purple colors, you're looking on the order of 7 to 9 degrees Celsius below normal. But look at this fine line, this division between the troughing and the straight shot of very cold temperatures from the Arctic down to the Gulf Coast, and then above normal temperatures out over the western U.S. up to western Canada. This is a graphic on the right. This is a display, a chart showing the forecasted temperatures for the Norfolk, Virginia area. I just wanted to show you, between Friday, the 21st of January, right on through Tuesday, the 25th of January, the warmest high temperature is 34 degrees. Okay. And one thing I want to mention is if we get a coastal winter storm and we get snowpack, these temperatures are going to be colder than what the model is currently indicating, because the global models, the synoptic scale models, the GFS and European deterministic, they can't really sense the snowpack. Snowpack tends to lead to much colder temperatures, especially overnight. And then the European deterministic temps on the left here. I mean, look at this. Friday, January 21st through Tuesday, January 25th, the Europeans forecasting a bump up to 43 degrees on Sunday. All right. But then a drop off down to 26 for a high by the 25th of January. So this period, 21 to 25 January, is just going to be frigid. And then you throw in some wind, some wind and some tighter pressure gradients, causing that stronger gusty wind, and the wind chills are going to be very, very cold. Looking at the CFS V2, this is courtesy of Kyle McRitchie, showing the MJO rotating into phase 1. Why is that important? I mentioned it in my last video. Phase 1 tends to favor very cold temperatures in January along the East Coast, as well as storminess. So storminess is definitely there, the potential, as well as very cold temperatures. Let's take a look at the actual temperature anomalies. This is the GFS. Temperature anomaly in degrees Celsius. Orange coloring indicates above normal temperatures. Blue and purple shadings indicate below normal temperatures. This upper left graphic is for Friday afternoon, the 21st of January. This Friday coming up, very cold, anywhere to the east of Nebraska and Kansas and Oklahoma. To the East Coast, just frigid. The next graphic here in the middle upper portion is for Saturday, the 22nd of January. Continued showing very cold temperatures along the eastern coast, eastern seaboard. And then for Sunday, the 23rd of January, we still have cold temperatures over the southeastern U.S. up to the mid-Atlantic. Now look at this. This is our next shot of Arctic air, which is poised to shoot southeast. So this is our next wave of Arctic air making its move into the Midwest by Sunday, the 23rd of January. Bottom left shows Monday, the 24th of January during the early afternoon. Here it is, another shot of very cold Arctic air directed from the Arctic right to the southeastern U.S. And then the middle bottom here represents the Tuesday, January 25th in the early afternoon hours. Here comes another shot. See the purple, light purple shading? That's another shot of cold Arctic air. And then by Thursday, the 27th of January, there's just no let up to it. That's what's the most intriguing thing, is there's really not much of a let up in these waves of Arctic air and the way this upper air pattern is setting up. Looking at the European temperature anomalies, now these are in degrees Fahrenheit. The legend is on the right-hand side of each of these graphics. The upper left here shows Friday, this Friday, the 21st of January, very much in agreement with the GFS model. Purple shading, you're looking at temperatures on the order of 20 to 24 degrees Fahrenheit below normal, or these areas in purple, these little splotchy areas in purple. And then this graphic in the middle, upper middle, represents Saturday, the 22nd of January. Temperatures on the order of 15 degrees below normal across the mid-Atlantic. Upper right, Sunday, 23 January, a little bit of a reprieve. Apparently, according to this European latest model. And then here's the reloading Arctic air to the northwest, and that just drops in. You can just kind of see the progression as we move along in time. This is 25 January here, and this is 26 January on the bottom right. Just showing wave after wave after wave. I see three specific waves of Arctic air set to move in to the mid-Atlantic and all the way down the Gulf Coast. The eastern U.S. is going to be an icebox between 21 January and the end of the month, basically, to 31 January. So here are my final thoughts on today's special video on the winter storm threat. We're looking at windy and dry weather for the mid-Atlantic tomorrow on Monday, the 17th of January. And that wind is going to be from the west-northwest. Eventually, it will veer around to the northwest, and it's going to be gusty, and it's going to make it feel quite cold. So even though your high temperatures may be in the 40s across southeastern Virginia, with this wind whipping, this gustiness to the wind, it's going to make it feel much colder with the wind chills into the 30s. Now, high pressure is going to build in for Tuesday, the 18th of January. That's going to help relax that pressure gradient. That's going to help relax the winds. The wind speeds are going to come down by Tuesday as the high pressure gets closer. We're still going to have a very cold day, cold temperatures with highs in the lower 40s on Tuesday. Now, that high pressure is going to move off the mid-Atlantic coast by Wednesday, 19 January. And what that's going to allow, that clockwise flow of air around high pressure, is going to allow milder southwest winds to blow into the area, into the mid-Atlantic, right up to New England. And that's going to result in milder daytime high temps into the 50s for the mid-Atlantic. This will be our one mild day this week. Like I mentioned earlier, Wednesday is the day to get out and enjoy the mild weather because the Arctic chill is coming behind right after Wednesday. As the Arctic cold front moves across southeastern Virginia on Thursday morning, the 20th of January, we're expecting temperatures to really drop, especially towards Thursday evening. We'll see showers, just regular rain showers ahead of the Arctic front, and they may transition over to some snow. It depends how long that moisture and that precipitation hangs over the area, but we could see a few flakes of snow towards the end of the precipitation as the colder Arctic air moves in behind the front. We're not expecting any accumulation, though, for Thursday's particular precip event. Now, models are differing. They're differing with the solutions for Friday, that period Friday, 21 January through Sunday, 23 January. Today, and of course, this video is going completely off of the latest model guidance, which I'm using the midday model guidance for 16 January. You might wake up tomorrow morning and watch this video, and it's completely different, because the models are going to change. But as of right now, midday, 16 January model runs, the European model showing all the moisture remaining well offshore to the southeast of the mid-Atlantic, and just very cold and dry weather. So not expecting anything according to the latest European model. I am leery about that, though, being that the European has a tendency to kind of show a big storm, then that next model run, the storm kind of goes off the map, and then it comes back again. So the European model tends to have that, yes, we're going to have a storm. No, we're not. Yes, we are. No, we're not. And we're still sitting generally 5 to 6 days out from the event. So I am expecting, honestly, it's just my gut feeling. I'm thinking the European model, the overnight run tonight, is going to bring that coastal storm back to where it's having impacts along the mid-Atlantic coast, potentially further north of New England as well. We'll have to wait and see on that. Now, the Canadian model on today's midday, 16 January run, is sticking with its continuity for snow across the mid-Atlantic on Friday, 21 January, and Saturday, 22 January, it has the greatest amount of snow accumulation as we looked at. GFS model is showing a secondary wave of low pressure moving up the East Coast at a later time. On Sunday, 23 January, GFS is showing significant snow accumulations for the mid-Atlantic as well. So Canadian GFS, they're saying, yes, there's going to be a storm. It's going to be up the coast, and it's going to have major impacts in the mid-Atlantic cities. The European latest model says, nope, I don't agree with that, and it has all the moisture further to the southeast offshore. I am expecting the models to continue changing over the next 48 hours before locking on to a more stable solution. I would say a more stable solution is probably going to be on the table as we get into Tuesday afternoon, the 18th of January, and then Wednesday, 19th January for sure. I think we'll have a more stable model solution. I think the models will start coming into better agreement at that time on what is going to transpire late this week into next weekend. Regardless of what happens with this storm, it's going to be a bitterly cold weather pattern settling into the eastern U.S. between Friday, 21 January and Friday, 28 January. Potential cold lasting into the first few days of February. Now, some of the longer range models are showing the cold and the troughing in the east remaining in place through like the 3rd of February. Other models are kind of hinting that it might let up. We might get more mild by that point, so that's well in the distance here. That's going to be changing and flip-flopping quite a bit between now and early February. But right now, I'm focused on these 3 Arctic shots of air between Friday, 21 January and Friday, 28 January. I think the coldest days right now are going to be between 21 and 25 January. We could have a secondary surge of Arctic air 27th, 28th time period. One other thing I want to mention, when you get these kind of deep troughs established, very deep troughs across the eastern U.S., you have to watch out for these weaker upper air disturbances that sometimes rotate through the long wave trough, and the jet stream kind of pushes them along. And I'm keeping an eye on the period Monday 24 January to Friday 28 January. These little weaker upper air disturbances could actually kick off or initiate these low pressure systems at the surface and result in potential wintry precip. Other considerations that we could see more locally, now if you live across southeastern Virginia and Hampton Road City specifically, are these bay streamers, which tend to, when you get really very, very cold Arctic air in the upper levels of the atmosphere from 850 millibars, 5,000 feet, up to 700 millibars, 10,000 feet, and you get a northerly wind. So we got high pressure off to the west. You get a northerly wind that blows down Chesapeake Bay. It can sometimes pick up the warmth and moisture from below, from the Chesapeake Bay waters, and a northerly wind will then push that moisture, those streamer bands, right into the Hampton Road cities in the southeastern Virginia. All right, so that's something else you have to watch for. Now, bay streamers events are usually not going to be big snow producers at all. All right, but you still could get some flakes in the air on some of those days if you get the right wind trajectory, and we're going to have plenty of very cold Arctic air aloft, which would be a very unstable situation. And then finally, today's video, the biggest question I have is whether the strong Arctic high pressure on the night of the 21st, Friday night into Saturday morning, will that Arctic high pressure system push southward and build into the mid-Atlantic, suppressing the potential storm track to offshore with no precipitation? Will that be the case? Because that's exactly what the European model is showing. It's showing the suppression. If you look over here, we generally have high pressure building down from New York State into the Mid-Atlantic. And these thickness values are 516, 510 across Northern Virginia. This is just extremely bitterly cold air. Now, will this occur? Because the previous two European models said no. It kept the high pressure off to the northwest over eastern Canada, and the low kind of went up the coast along the greatest thermal gradient and tightest thickness packing. So we'll have to wait and see. So that is a good question that I'm really pondering right now. Now, I will say with these deep upper level trough, this pattern is so favorable for storm development, especially along the leading edges of Arctic air masses. Okay, when you get these strong Arctic fronts moving in, there's a large temperature difference between the Gulf Stream over the western Atlantic Ocean and the much colder Arctic air over land. You get a storm that usually develops right along that boundary between the much milder air of the Gulf Stream to the much colder air of the northwest over land. You can get temperature differences on the order of 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And when those storms form along those boundaries and ride up off the southeastern coast, off the mid-Atlantic. They feed off that large temperature gradient between the warmer air over the Gulf Stream and that much colder Arctic air to the northwest. The greater the Arctic surge, the greater the contrast in temperatures, all right? And so this pattern is very favorable for some sort of storm development off the southeastern coast. Again, the question is, does it remain offshore? Well, definitely will be cold enough for snow along the coast, from Virginia all the way northward up the eastern seaboard. You know, this particular storm today on Sunday, 16 January, the very strong warm nose has pushed in from the Atlantic Ocean with very strong easterly winds. It's actually pushing the rain-snow line further to the west. And we're not really going to see that. We're not really looking at seeing that next weekend because we're going to have very cold Arctic air in place already before the storm would form possibly along that frontal boundary offshore. We'll have to keep an eye on that, but we definitely have cold enough temperatures for snow. Now, the majority of models are indicating some sort of storm development off the southeast coast late this week, obviously. And I'm going to give my props out to GFS model because GFS has been doing an incredible job lately in indicating where storms are developing and the overall storm track 5 days out from the event. That has definitely been the case with this past event that's impacting the Mid-Atlantic today, the storm system. GFS was the first to show a track change inland along the coast. European was still having the storm go south and out to sea, and then wouldn't you know it, European then came back to the GFS solution, and GFS has been rock solid, showing, you know, for this particular storm right now, showing that inland track, and it was showing this 5 days out from the event on this current storm. So I have a little more faith in GFS, really. And we can't discount GFS. I mean, we used to laugh about the GFS model because we used to think, it's got cold bias in the wintertime. It predicts way too cold for temperatures. It overdoes precipitation. But it's doing an incredible job lately. So, you know, I'm more prone, based on the way it's been performing lately, to actually go with the GFS solution over the Canadian and European model right now. And so, yeah, it's impressive. Now, obviously, if we do get a storm system late week and next weekend, the storm placement and this track are going to be key to our sensible weather, what we see. We could have a track well offshore and, like I said, get next to nothing. Or we could have a track that basically moves off the southeast coast, up off the mid-Atlantic, and we get a big snow accumulation. So we can range, these patterns are so tricky sometimes, especially when it comes to coastal storm development. Just a small distance in the horizontal, it makes a huge difference in the overall sensible weather. And it's real easy to blow a forecast based on, where the storm track sets up. So again, we're looking, I know it's kind of funny to say it, but we're looking at either a big snow storm across the mid-Atlantic, southeastern Virginia, into North Carolina, or we're looking at nothing at all. All right? Basically what it comes down to, we're still sitting 5 to 6 days out. The mesoscale models, the NAM, for example, It's starting to get closer to the time range, but it's not quite in that time range yet. So I'd say by Tuesday, again, I think the model solutions will come into more alignment come Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday, especially when you have those mesoscale models as well to kind of look at the local scale processes that happens with these storm systems. All right, that wraps it up today on the special video, Winter Storm Threat. Going to keep an eye on this really closely over the next few days, and if it looks like this thing is really going to happen here in about 2 to 3 days, I'm hoping to make another special video and we can go over the more specifics of the storm and what to expect, the impacts, and who's going to get what type of weather, what type of snow accumulations, that type of thing. But regardless, bundle up, everybody. This pattern is cold. It's very cold, and it's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting between this coastal storm this weekend as well as these potential upper air disturbances that may rotate through that trough, through that pattern, through the base of the trough. And, you never know. You could get like a quick hitting little snowstorm, 1 to 3, 2 to 4 inch type event. I've seen it before across the southeastern Virginia and the mid-Atlantic in general, coming out of Alberta, Canada, those Alberta clippers diving down through the base of the trough and then off the coast, and next thing you know, you've got 2 to 4 inches in your backyard. So cold will be there. Question is will the precip be there? That's the big question of this video. Just wanted to kind of share my thoughts today on the video. All right, that wraps things up. Spot on weather. We believe in accuracy through precision and detailed analyses. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you again for subscribing to our YouTube channel. I'll follow the latest forecast from Spot on Weather on social media, Facebook, as well as Twitter. Check us out with our latest 7-day outlooks, as well as I do occasional weather blogs, which provides even further in-depth analysis on the upcoming weather. All right, take care, everybody, and God bless.